Welcome back to Open Window Politics. Today we're going to be doing a prediction between Governor Andy Beshear of Kentucky on the Democratic side versus the Republican candidate. In this case, we're going to be going with the current Vice President, J.D. Vance. So this is a potential hypothetical mix-up matchup between these two candidates. At the moment, it is more likely that Vance will be the Republican Party's nominee, then Beshear will be the Democratic Party's nominee, but nonetheless, fun to do a prediction between these two candidates. So we will start out with Nevada and then move eastward. In Nevada, I'm going to put that state in the lean blue margin. I do think this state would be relatively close. This state did go to Trump in 2024, which is a very impressive feat for the Republicans. The state also has a Republican governor. But I think many of the trends that supported Republicans, especially with some key voting demographic groups, have since largely reversed from what we've seen of the special elections that have taken place since the 2024 election. And I think that that is enough of a sign. The midterms will also give us a better indication of which way each of the key states are leaning. But for now, I'm going to put Nevada into the lean blue column. Oops, didn't mean to do that with Alaska. And then as far as the state of Arizona goes, going to put that into the tilt blue column. I do think the state would be narrower than Nevada, but still in the Democratic Party's column for Andy Beshear, bringing Beshear to 243 to J.D. Vance's 219. And then as you can see here, there's a couple states here that look a bit different in their designation than they usually do. We have the three states of Iowa, Ohio, and Texas going from likely to lean. I think that this would be a fairly easy task for Beshear to pull off. He has won as a Democrat in a state that is safe red, as you can see there in Kentucky, definitely a reliably Republican state. And I figure if he is able to win in a state like Kentucky, he can certainly narrow things up and potentially win an election. We'll get to that later on the national level. But as far as those states go, I do think Beshear would be very capable of narrowing things up. And that was bring a couple, they're still in the Republican Party's column, but it would make it a little more narrow of a race. And then we're going to head over to the other half of the Sun Belt in Georgia. I'm going to put Georgia into the tilt blue column. The state saw some great election results for Democrats in 2025 with the elections that took place then. And I think that it would be fairly reasonable to say that Democrats are going to win this state, especially if Beshear were the nominee in 2028. North Carolina is probably the state I'm the most undecided on. I really think both candidates have a good opportunity to win in this state. For now, I'm going to put it in J.D. Vance's column. This state didn't even go blue in 2020, which was a good year for Democrats on the national level. But the state did go blue in 2008, and at the moment, it's a favorable environment for Democrats. I just don't think it's quite that level of favorable. So for now, I'm going to keep North Carolina in the Republican Party's column. That is going to be the first electoral college victory for J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance. And as far as the three Rust Belt states go, I think that I'm going to do a bit of a different rating. I'm going to put Wisconsin in the lean blue. I do think this state will be relatively close, similar to Nevada, but I do think it will end up in the Democratic Party's category. We saw a 60 to 40 election point victory for Democrats in the state in the recent election. And I think it is reasonable to assume if Democrats are able to pull that off, then on the presidential level, they can win by more than 2 or 3 points, which would put it in the lean blue margin. And then Michigan and Pennsylvania, I do think Pennsylvania is probably J.D. Vance's best hope. Ultimately, though, I do think the Rust Belt would vote together, and I'm going to put Michigan, I did not mean to do that, I'm going to put Michigan and Pennsylvania into the tilt blue column, so that is going to be the rating for those two states. Going to put West Virginia back into safe red, and that brings Governor Andy Beshear to 303 electoral college votes to J.D. Vance's 235. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.